Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate all support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into another interview, Jesus Christ. Before we get into we've been doing a lot of interviews recently. But before we get into tonight's film review, let's just give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. We have everything about this podcast is on our website. Brian did a phenomenal job designing this website. We got all of our episodes, our interviews, our blog, our store. Like I said, everything is on there. We have all of our social media links: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Go follow us, subscribe to us on all those platforms. We're heavily active on all of them except TikTok, just because I'm not creative.
Same.
But I'm trying to get more creative.
and I'm 80 years old, so
yeah, Brian's old, so
I don't know how to work. I don't know how to work the thing. I'll be honest.
I'm the old guy, but yeah, you don't know how to work it. Oh, okay.
Hey, you said it. Follow us there, anyways. And the last thing I'm gonna shout out is we started a Patreon that we call Blood Donors. We have two different kinds. We have the monthly reoccurring. I would say it's the best one I would go with, honestly. You know, it helps us pay for this podcast. We got a lot of fans who ask how they can help us, and it helps us pay to make this good podcast, I would say, because it's not free to make a good podcast. But if you ever want us to review a movie, or if you want to come on our show, we also have a one-time donation, and you can do that as well. Just check out our website and the Blood Donors. Tonight is Brother Mike's pick, and Mike, after you announce it, I'm going to announce a giveaway. So go ahead, brother.
Let's go.
Yeah, okay. So, hello, everyone. This episode was supposed to drop earlier this week. There's been an illness going around. You may have heard of it. So, yeah, so we're recording a couple days late, but that's okay. So female lead came around, and we've done the two that I would have picked already. And that's Nightmare on Elm Street 3, because I think the Heather Langenkamp is so good in that, such a strong female lead. And then Scream, obviously the original Scream comes to mind with Nev. So we couldn't do those two because those are kind of ones you got to get out of the way early, or those are the ones I picked anyway, I think. So I went a completely different direction. I went with just a really, what I thought, great acting performance, regardless of how I felt about the film itself. So I went with Hereditary, which if you listened last week, you already know. And if you clicked on this title, you already know that as well. But I went with Hereditary, 2017, I believe, 18. And look, Toni Collette is the reason I picked this film. I think she's fantastic in this role. She knocks it out of the park. One thing I will say about this movie is I understand it's divisive. I do. I understand why it's divisive. I really do. Ari Aster, which we've covered Midsummer, he makes some films that not everyone's cup of tea. I think we have a co-host that may feel that way. And I understand that as well. But the reason I went with this movie is because I think 3/4 of this film is really fantastic. I think the acting is great. The shots are phenomenal to me. I hate overusing that word, but it's the truth. I think the cinematography, shocker, is great. But I really do think, and I'm going to use some of my cliche terms, but I really don't have another way to describe it, is I think this movie captures a different kind of horror with its mood and atmosphere. And it's hard to get away from those terms because it does, the way, some of the lighting and the sound without sound actually being there. This movie uses quiet really well to kind of unnerve you, make you feel uneasy, not queasy, but like there's points in the movie where you don't feel good watching the movie. Like there's nothing good happening in this entire film. And so I understand someone not really liking that. But no, I think the rest of the cast around Toni Collette is great. And you have to give me a minute here. I'm bad with names. But Alex Wolff, who plays the son, Peter, phenomenal job. He's really good in Old, too. I just recently watched that. I'll probably pick that down the line. It's definitely not this movie. That's what I'll say. But Millie Shapiro is Charlie, who I think does a really good job of being a creepy kid. Really, really good. Gabriel Byrne. Florence Pugh's in this movie for like a little bit, I believe, somewhere. it definitely shows up here. But no, so long story short, I picked the movie because that's what it says on the IMDb page.
Oh, I saw that too, but I couldn't find her. Like
I couldn't either.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure I was.
So, but Florence, if you weren't in this movie, I apologize. I don't want to associate with you. Maybe because Ari Aster and Midsummer and IMDb's got it wrong. That's the only thing I can think of. Unless she plays an extra bit part, like one of the high school kids or something,
right.
Then I don't know. But anyway, really good cast. I liked the story. I liked it. It delves into some real life stuff, kind of, dealing with generational trauma and things like that, which I know that can be a little overplayed, but I think this movie captures it the best that I've seen within the horror genre, in my opinion. Now, that being said, the last 20 minutes of this movie is a little much for me. It kind of kicks the legs out underneath me sometimes. And I know we'll get there, but I knew that was where it was going. But I didn't think it would go there, for lack of a better term. So again, I'm excited to talk about it because I know this is a popular film amongst a lot of people. And I know there's people that loathe this film. And I think Nico's going to touch on it here in a second. The first time I saw this movie, I wasn't a fan. It took me a couple times to come around on it. And so I think that's just Ari Aster for you. The more I watch Midsummer, the more I like it. I hated it the first time I ever saw it. So, that's how I feel. Sorry for rambling.
You're good.
It's all good, man. I can't really add much to it. Mike, I'm on the team with you. Really liked the movie. I hated it my first time watching it, though. I turned it off. I just got tired of watching it. But I'm a new man now after doing 170 or 80 episodes of this show.
You went and saw a Brooks and Dunn concert, huh?
Brand new man.
That's a great song. It's a great song.
Favorite song.
But anywho, back to this. I can't really say much more than what Mike's already said. I agree with him 100%. About, I won't say the last 20 minutes, but I really don't like the ending in the
treehouse.
It just feels so rushed a little bit to me. But I think Toni Collette's great. The dinner scene is
hand out an Oscar. Hand out an Oscar, man.
Absolutely. Charlie's death scene, I don't think you can ever forget that after watching it. But anywho, I really like the movie now. I'm just going to announce a giveaway. Just share our post on Instagram. Share it to your stories, retweet us on Twitter, or share us on Facebook. I'll pick a winner. But I didn't realize I had a Blu-ray already before I bought the second one because it was like $5 on Amazon.
Rich
man.
I
bought it, The Witch.
Rich man problems.
Yeah, $5 makes me rich all of a sudden. But anywho, I have 2 Blu-rays. I'm going to give one away to someone who shares our post on social media. All right, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead and tell us why you hate it and why you didn't.
Brian, before you go, I want to give a shout out to Ann Dowd, who played Joan. Almost no one in pro wrestling history has ever pulled off a heel turn quite like she did in this film. Fantastic job sucking me in, making me like you, and then slapping me across the face. Asshole, Pam Dowd. Or Ann Dowd. You can come on our show anytime.
Yeah, so probably to nobody's surprise, I'm the co-host that didn't really like this. But I went in expecting not to like this. It's no secret I wasn't a fan of Midsummer, and I understand that comparison, but I don't understand the comparison that this gets to The Witch. Like, I liked The Witch. I rated The Witch at 8.5. This is no Witch to me. Maybe the ending could be related to The Witch if you wanted to kind of force it, but I just feel like that. I feel like that this is 2 movies in one. Like, it's trying to be one thing, and then the end is a completely, totally different thing. And I don't know. It just, like I said, it just isn't for me. I found myself bored through some of it, and we joke about if you don't like it, you don't get it. I get it. I just don't really like it. It's like, now I'll say it made me feel some real raw emotions, like some real strong emotions that, if you asked Ari Aster, I don't know. I don't know him personally. Maybe Mike does. He hobnobs with the rich and powerful.
Oh, but, God.
Most of all organic. But I imagine that if you told Ari Aster that he made me feel these real raw feelings, that he'd be happy with that. I can't imagine that he cares if you like it or not, but he seems like the type that would just care if he made you feel something. And I will fully admit that I felt a lot. And now most of the cast view this as like a family drama that I read more than a horror movie, and I get that. There's a lot of touching on mental illness and feeling quote unquote real. And for the most part, I would agree. This definitely feels real, but it's way too long. I'm not saying that 2 hours is a long film. I'm just saying that this film in particular
Definitely
is either
long.
it's either too long or they needed some more of like, Act 3 maybe spaced out throughout. I don't even care for the route that it takes halfway through, honestly. So, now after seeing both Midsummer and Hereditary, I may not like Ari Aster's movies. It's kind of ironic, actually, that his next movie is titled Disappointment Boulevard. I don't know. That's kind of ironic, I think.
Jesus.
But I
Never
will
getting Ari on this show.
But I will say that these movies definitely provoke feeling out of me that very few have that I've watched. So I'll give it that.
I did, Nico. Before you go, I definitely think that's intentional. I think that's the kind of horror he goes for. He's not necessarily, and there are some genuinely like scary stuff in this movie to me. But I think his horror comes more from feeling something, having it be more realistic than just, boogeyman hops out from behind the wall. Like, I think that is something that he definitely shot for. So, you don't have to like it, and I understand not liking it. There's plenty of movies that I get that I don't like. Golly, what's that? There's a lot of those that we've reviewed. I just give them generous ratings because I'm such a nice guy. Such a nice guy.
Unless it's Jason Takes Manhattan. There was nothing nice about that.
Yeah, and it didn't deserve it. Fucking terrible piece of shit. Not only that, Quentin Tarantino can't act, motherfuckers, okay? Motherfucker can't act.
All right, let's get started. I'm excited to talk about Hereditary. This is a big movie. All right, the film starts with an obituary on screen to Ellen Taper Lee, 78 years old. We now see a cool treehouse, and we pan through this art room. We see many model houses, and we zoom into a room in the model house, and that shot turns into Peter's room. Steve walks in telling him to wake up and hands him his suit. He asks where his sister slept at. We see Annie in the car waiting. Steve goes into the treehouse and wakes Charlie up. He's upset she slept in the cold and to hurry up. Annie is giving a eulogy to the congregation to a room full of people she doesn't really recognize. She speaks on how private she was and her rituals and how difficult of a woman she was to read, speaking on her mother. Charlie stares at her grandma's necklace when they walk past the casket. We now see Charlie drawing and clicking her tongue during the message. We see a woman putting ointment or something on Ellen's lips. Charlie eats a chocolate bar and Steve asks to make sure it doesn't have any nuts in it. The family gets home and Steve has everyone take their shoes off. Annie asks if she should feel sadder. Annie is working on some of her model characters and houses. Steve walks in and asks about their deadlines. We see Peter in his bed strumming his guitar, and Steve tells him goodnight and asks how he's feeling. He says he gets it when Peter says he's not that sad. Annie goes into Charlie's room and asks her who this drawing is. Annie tells Charlie she was Grandma's favorite. She wanted me to be a boy, Charlie says. Who's going to take care of me, even when you die? She tells her dad and Peter will. Annie comforts Charlie and says she never cried as a baby, not even when she was born. Annie tells her crying may give her some relief. She sees a random word on the wall and tells her good night and walks out. Annie goes back into her art room and looks through a box labeled Mom's Things. She flips through a photo album. She opens another book and reads a note to her from her mom asking for forgiveness for sacrifices and things she couldn't tell her. Annie now sees her mother in the corner of the room. She flips the light on and she's gone now. She sees a model of her and her mother and she turns it around. Annie goes to bed and tells Steve she got a scare in the workshop. We're in class now and Charlie's playing with a toy, not doing her quiz, and we see a bird fly right into the classroom window, killing itself. Charlie stares at the teacher's scissors. We're now in Peter's classroom and he's zoning out looking at girls' butts, and his buddy texts asking if he wants to go smoke. Teacher now asks a distracted Peter for his input. Charlie takes the scissors and cuts the dead bird's head off and keeps it in her pocket while eating another chocolate bar. Charlie sees a woman staring at her from a distance who waves at her. Now Annie is back in her workshop and Steve says hey as he comes inside. Annie notices her mother's bedroom door is open for some reason. She sees this triangle symbol etched into the floor. She asks Steve if he went in her room and he locks it up. Steve gets a call from the cemetery. They tell him it's been desecrated after only a week. Annie asks what it was about, and he tells her some billing stuff. Annie says she's going to a movie. All right, go ahead, Brian. That's the opening I got for us.
Yeah, bear with me. There's a lot that happens in this group right here. Now, wow. First off, the cinematography is absolutely fucking phenomenal. Mike touched on that earlier, and it's absolutely right, especially in this group of scenes. I mean, I can say what I want about Ari Aster's movies, but holy shit, they're shot just incredibly. This opening scene moving into the miniature and then kind of how it turns into reality. Like the second time I even focused in on like the hats that were hanging up in his room, and I tried to see like where did it transition, and fucking didn't, man. It was phenomenal. Um, and like, I know we throw around words like cinematography, atmosphere all the time, and I still will throughout this, but the cinematography, I mean, and just magnificent shots like this is like a 10 in this flick. It's phenomenal. It's stuff I've never seen before. And it honestly blew me away as some loser on a podcast whose opinion is just some Joe Blow who watches movies. It was just wow. And that's not even getting into the deeper meaning here. I mean, this whole miniature scene, like this reminded me of playing The Sims for hours upon hours when I was younger. And, I think that's the point, I mean, that it's just like this feeling of vulnerability, basically being like a sim, like your existence is just some shithead kid playing Sims on some video game. And I don't think that this movie is saying exactly that, but it's definitely like in the same vein. I think that's definitely the point Aster is trying to get across in this. See, I get it, guys. I just don't like it. Anyway, I'll also, say, and I've said this before, I like how movies do what this did here, and like how it just drops you right in the story, and you have to kind of piece together the history and what happens. And so let me just speak about the atmosphere in this group of scenes. Like, you feel uneasy. I felt uneasy. You feel the tension at the funeral and the family interaction at the house. I mean, obviously on a second watch, you pick up a lot more with like the glances at the funeral, and you understand why it is the way it is at the house. So it makes more sense. But your first watch through, like, all you know is that nothing feels right. So again, bravo to Aster for making you feel the same uneasiness that I did in Midsummer. And, a little fun fact, in Peter's first scene at the school, the words escaping fate is on the chalkboard with the teacher discussing it. This is actually a reference to Halloween 78, where the main character discusses the same thing in class, even to an extent in H2O as well, if I'm not mistaken. But again, like, this is harking back to one of the many themes in this movie, having to deal with fate. It's a little weird casting, I think, with Gabrielle Byrne being so much older. I think 22 years older than Toni Collette from what I read, but I forgot that pretty quickly because he's so good here. I mean, he's just like, you can tell the one holding this family together. I mean, he has real love for his kids. His relationship with Peter and Charlie, I see a lot of me and him, which again goes back to me being able to empathize pretty quickly with these characters. I mean, and therefore, like, that lets me feel things that they feel, which is just a phenomenal job, I think, by Aster. And now, yeah, this set of scenes is slow, but it doesn't bother me here. I like the character development here and the rawness. Kenny Shaw would be proud. Florida State fans will get that because it's raw, and it does have a good job of keeping me interested in, in this piece of the story. But that's all I had, Mike.
Yeah. So right off the bat, you're kind of it's not a title card. It's the, eulogy or whatever you call that. But it kind of dropped me in, kind of like Brian mentioned, that, okay, this movie's a little bit different. I don't think any other movie that I've seen has started with basically what looks like the inside of a funeral pamphlet. So that's very unique right off the bat. Like you mentioned, they take us right into this funeral, and you just feel the uneasiness, the tension of it. There's something a little off here. They even kind of go into the fact that it makes you feel like Toni Collette's character didn't really know her mom, but didn't really. And that comes across when she speaks. Obviously Charlie was her favorite, and, that comes across very early on here, that's kind of the influence that she had with her grandma. And then you have Peter, who just kind of seems to not be a loner, but seems to be what's what I'm looking for here? He's an outcast in his own family.
Black sheep.
Black sheep. Thank you. Oh, I almost said blackfish. I was like, that's not right. Well, I guess it could be any animal. But anyway, He's the black sheep in his own family a little bit. But then you get the dad, who you mentioned, just kind of glues this thing together. I like the dynamic, but I also like the fact, and I was listening earlier today, I was watching to Dead Meat's discussion on their podcast episode about this, and it was touched on the fact that he didn't have a whole lot of depth to his character. And I took note of that as well. I think that's on purpose. I think the reason behind that is because he's the character we need to know the least about. Everyone else is blood tied to the mom, not him. So half the time I forget his name, man. Like right now, couldn't tell you. And I've seen the movie probably 12 times. I still couldn't tell you the man's name. But I liked his character because, again, we need a little bit of normalcy surrounded. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just real quick, Mike. I listened to that as well, and I also read some comments on his YouTube channel about that. And I think someone made a great point saying he did a great job portraying just a dad who's torn like in different directions, just trying to hold them together. But eventually he breaks at the end too. That's
Absolutely.
all.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of the yin to the yang of this whole craziness that happens around him, and it happens pretty early on here. He's a normal dad to Peter. He seems to be like a dad that wants to make it all work. Like when stuff starts to get a little crazy, a little sad, he's kind of like, okay, let's calm this down. Let's see what we can do, kind of deal. I'll cook dinner or whatever. And so I liked it. He kind of provides a little bit of balance. You mentioned the shots, man. First of all, I love this miniature story, or the miniature part of this story and how it kind of continues as a pattern throughout. I love the shot that takes you from miniature to real life, and you don't even notice it happening until the dad walks into the door with the coat. It's unbelievable to me. It's not something I remember seeing before this, and I don't quite know if anyone's done it after, but it is outstanding work. Editing, camera work, all of it. It's really, really, golly, it blew me away the first time I ever saw it. Honestly, I didn't even know what I was looking at. It took a couple, wow, that was, man, I love that shot. Ari Aster, Brian may not love you, but I do.
I love him as a cinematographer.
Come on the show and me and Nico will interview, Ari. All right, anyway.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, anyway, not a whole lot more happens here. You get some character development with Charlie. You kind of knew without any more happening, any more development, that she was a little different. Obviously, she's a little bit guarded. She's a little bit standoffish, a little bit of a loner. And by the way, the acting here, really, really good. I just think she does such a good job playing kind of a creepy little kid without actually being creepy. She's not like Damien Omen creepy. She's just kind of a normal kid that's a little different. And that comes off because of the way the movie is shot with some of the sounds and the music. Very creepy. Now, obviously, when she cuts off the bird's head, when she cuts off the bird's head, then you'd be like, okay, never mind. You're a little creepy. But even then, to me, and this is just me, even then, you kind of, I don't want to chalk it up to just a little bit kind of a weird kid. I mean, even then, the first time you watch it, you don't quite know why that's happening. Again, it wasn't shot, or the tone wasn't the same as any of these other creepy kid movies we've seen, in my opinion. There's not this dark, ominous, turns
she
at you.
She doesn't seem like she's possessed by a demon. She doesn't at all.
Right.
She just kind of seems, you can actually understand because of the shit that she's gone through. I know we're hit on that later, but.
And that's kind of the point of the film, or at least to me, is a lot of it is that generational trauma term that gets thrown around a lot. That's very evident here that something wrong with Charlie. I don't know what it is, but she's been through a lot, and even the stuff she hasn't been through yet, there's like you mentioned, fate. Her fate is basically sealed because of her grandma and the future that her mom tried to put off and ignore. So I like that it's played this way, because we don't get the kid turns around and he has green eyes or, anything like that you would get from some other creepy kid movies. You just get this very subtle, I know, she's cutting the head off a bird. Got it. Yeah. But at the same time, you can kind of understand her, It's what Rob Zombie tried to do to Michael Myers, but didn't do so well by having him kill animals. Kind of that same vibe, except he didn't do it as well as Ari Aster and them did it. So yeah, I like this set of scenes. It's slow, but it builds to me to a really nice point, in my opinion.
And you mentioned fate, and this is what I wanted to point out. This line, the line where the teacher asks, does it make it more tragic or less tragic if Heracles has a choice? And the boy who raises his hands and says more, and he's like, why? Because I don't know. That cracked me up because there's just so much realism to that like exchange, and also, but I mean, hell, also that's pretty deep. I mean, foreshadowing and saying more because basically means it's all futile, in what they're doing. So right. I think that's what he's trying to get across too.
Also, I like that the character of Peter is almost the exact opposite of Charlie. He's quiet and reserved a little bit too, but for different reasons. Partially because he's a guy that likes to smoke weed and not really care about a lot of stuff. That's what his path is chosen. And I think because he is the way he is, that's why his inside, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but if you haven't seen the movie, sorry. But that's why he's not quite chosen. Just his body, just his vessel is chosen. But he's a stoner that kind of fucks up his life. So, yeah.
All right. Annie walks into an auditorium and she joins others for a grief class for anyone who's lost someone. The leader opens it up for any new attendees. Annie introduces herself and tells the group her mother died a week ago, and she has resistance to these type of groups. She now tells the group her story about her and her mother's relationship. She had DID and schizophrenia. Her father died from starvation due to chronic depression. Her brother had schizophrenia and hung himself at 16. And I'm like, well, sheesh. Mother moved in with her towards the end. Steve instituted a no-contact rule until she had her daughter. She forbade her from being involved with her firstborn son. The leader asks what she feels blamed for. I don't know, she says. Peter smokes now and his phone goes off. He's invited to a party tomorrow night. Charlie the next day is now making more clicking noises and making toys and using the dead bird's head. We see a light of blue light flash through the room. Charlie looks for it out the window. Annie gets a message as she cooks. Clients are asking for some progress pics of their models. Charlie walks outside to a field past her treehouse. Peter walks in his mom's workshop and asks if he can borrow a car tonight for a school barbecue thing. She asks if they'll be drinking and he says no. And I just wrote, it seems to be some tension between them, and Annie asks if he's taking Charlie. He goes to her room, but she's not there. Charlie now sees, I think, as Grandma sitting in the field surrounded by fire and clicks her tongue. Annie drags her in the house and tells her that she's going to the school hangout. Charlie doesn't want to go, but Annie insists. Now it really means no drinking, she tells Peter. Yeah, exactly. Peter is driving to the party and Charlie clicks her tongue. They pass like this light pole with the same symbol as Grandma's necklace etched on it. They get to the party and we see a girl viciously chopping nuts for a cake. Peter walks up to his crush and asks how's the party and if she likes to smoke. He says he has really good weed. She gets up and they go to another room with a bong. Charlie doesn't know what to do, so Peter tells her to go get some chocolate cake. Peter and this girl go into a room with some others to smoke. Charlie eats the cake and she isn't reacting well. Peter ignores calls and texts from his mom. We see Charlie wheezing and drinking lots of water. She walks into the room where Peter is and says she doesn't feel good. It's hard to breathe. I think my throat is getting bigger. He carries her outside and puts her in the car. He gets up front and drives off speeding out of there. Charlie struggles more to breathe and hangs out the window to get fresh air. Peter swerves around a dead deer carcass in the road, and Charlie is decapitated by the light pole with the symbol on it. Peter slams brakes and stops in the road. He has tears in his eyes and is sweaty, and looks into the rear view and quickly looks away. He puts the car back in gear and drives away slowly. He drives back home and goes back into the house and into his room and just lies down. The next morning, he's still lying in bed, and we hear Annie saying she's going to head out to run errands. She opens her car door and finds Charlie's dead body and screams. We see Charlie's decapitated head in the road being eaten and covered in ants. We see Steve trying to comfort Annie, who screams, "I just want to die. It hurts too much. I just need to die," as she yells out Charlie's name. Peter stands listening to her in the hallway. We're now at the funeral as Charlie's body is lowered into the ground. All right, go ahead, Brian.
So, just to kind of touch on a little bit more on Charlie, like, that we were kind of discussing just a minute ago, but, the mental illness aspect of that whole thing is definitely, another big piece here, another big theme here. And hell, I'm sure one of the meanings of the title, but, you can definitely see the mental illness in Annie, and you get stuff with Charlie, of course, with, like you said, the cutting the bird's head off and whatnot. I kind of almost wish that was more part of the ending. I don't know. I wish it was more ambiguous in that nature, but anyway, I'll get to that when we get there. But there's definitely some disconnect there, right? There was for me anyway. Like, Charlie wasn't really relatable as a character to me, and she is more obviously upon subsequent viewings when you kind of understand what she's gone through, like we said, and that kind of made her the way that she is. But it doesn't make what happens any less effective in provoking feelings, if that makes any sense in me. Like, those feelings get so manipulated in this group of scenes with Annie, the grief class, giving you all this family history. So you kind of get these feelings. You feel sorry for her, like, some, and then you obviously find out what she did, and you see her interacting with her kids, and those feelings like immediately turn to anger. But nothing compares to the way that I felt when Charlie was beheaded in that car. And yeah, despite the disconnect you feel once she starts wheezing, but then it's like, as Peter's like carrying her to the car, I saw my son and my daughter in them, their relationship. And then when he hits that pole, like, my stomach just sank. I felt genuinely sick to my stomach. I felt like, I'm sure that's what Aster wanted you to feel. And, in those moments after with Peter, shit, I admit it, I broke down. I cried a little bit. Like, I don't know the last time that I actually teared up in a movie. And that scene and the way that Alex Wolff, like, just portraying it the way that he did, coupled with Toni Collette's performance, them obviously finding her the next day. I don't know. It was just devastating to me. Like, it was too real for me. Like, I had to stop the movie, pause it, and just kind of collect myself for a minute. Like, and I almost didn't want to go back and watch the rest of it. I personally don't think that we needed to see the decapitated head. I think that was over the top. But Steve Newburn and his crew who did the effects, they're unmatched. Like, they are some of the best practical effects that I've seen in a while. Apparently they built it on like an animatronic puppet of Charlie. They put in a lot to make this fucking effect work as well as it did. And, apparently it went off so well that they only used a few frames of the actual shot in the real movie because it was too disturbing. So shit, I get that. Yeah, I get that. But again, Toni Collette's performance was spot on. Same with Alex Wolff, honestly. Aster does a phenomenal job of like capturing the grief that would come along with this. The last thing I wanted to say, I just wanted to end on the note that, like, as her coffin is lowered into the ground, we get that damn Return of the Living Dead shot there with the dirt, the Beetlejuice one, the same one I brought up in Return of the Living Dead that I love so much. I love it every time. Anyway, that's all I had anyway. Go ahead.
Before you go, Mike, I just want to ask Brian, did you know about the Charlie decapitation kill before you watched this movie?
No, not the first time.
Man, how shocking was it?
I told you, like, I told you how it, I don't know how to put into words how much it affected me. Like, it really bothered me.
On social media, after we post this for a couple of days, I'm going to put a poll up and ask what was more shocking, Charlie's decapitation or the scene in Midsommar when they leap off the cliff. I'm going to ask that. Just get some responses.
That's not even, to me, that's not even a comparison. Like, that's not even close.
But both are shocking, yeah.
Hey, and before you go real fast, like, the grandma, to me, like, she plays such a huge part in this part of the movie, but then she just disappears, like, the rest of the movie. No more pictures of her, no more, like, you hardly even remember that she's even in this movie until the end.
So starting off with the grief class, first off, if my wife said she was going to see a movie by herself, first of all, I'd let her. That's totally fine. But I'd also be like, hey, man, I kind of want to go to the movie. Can I go too? Like, what the fuck? So the fact that my man wasn't really suspect means, hey, he's holding it down. He don't care. Whatever. All right, good for him. I just would have been a little suspicious, a little sus. But hey, to each their own. This grief class scene or whatever to me starts out like you're going to get Annie not saying anything, and then she just spills her guts, her family history. That's, how the mental illness is hereditary. You know what I mean? So, come on, that was there and you knew it. It really is what they're touching on. That's why the name of the movie is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really on the nose with that. But I think the acting, this is the reason I picked the film. To me, Toni Collette's acting in this scene starts to take it to another level. It's hard for me to if I pass this movie, flipping through the channels, and this is just me, and I caught the first set of scenes, I would probably change it. Not because it's bad, just because it wouldn't catch my attention. If I flip this movie on from this point on of Toni Collette kind of slowly losing it a little bit, I'm in. Her acting from this grief council scene through the rest of the movie is just top notch, hands down, incredible. So I really like that scene. And, for her to kind of reel it back in with this interaction with Peter, Alex Wolff, whatever, like you said, Brian, there's some tension there between mom and son. Something's a little off there. And we learned about their incident and what happened and why that tension is there. But until it just kind of feels, like they're at odds. First of all, why was it necessary to send Charlie with Peter to this damn party? Now, okay, I get it. You don't want him drinking, whatever, that's fine. And to Peter's credit, my man didn't drink when he went to the party. He just smoked a lot of pot. Hey, he did not lie to his mom. That man did not have alcoholic beverages that I remember. Charlie didn't want to go to this party. She's clearly not a social butterfly. I don't know why she insisted on this. Only bad was going to come of this. And this is where some of the not Easter eggs, but some of the stuff that hasn't quite got brought up yet, the creepy visions that Charlie has are kind of starting to become more prevalent. The stuff that you hear throughout the film kind of starts to creep in more as she's in the backseat of the car, sees her grandma, all this other stuff. And so I like that we're at least getting some of that layered in here now. The scene at the party is, first of all, there's a party, bring your dick, is a great thing to harken back earlier. But anyway, that's that's one way to say there's going to be a party tonight. But no, you just knew. And even the first time I saw this movie, no, I didn't think what ended up happening was going to happen, because I've been conditioned in movies for it all to end up okay, especially when Charlie seems like she's going to be a main focal point character. As soon as she ate the cake, I'm like, oh, fuck. Here we go. This is not going to go well for my man Peter, who, by the way, I'm empathizing with as a viewer. Peter, that character. Because it does seem like there's weird, there's harbored resentment from his mom. So I'm like empathizing and even sympathizing, because, again, didn't want to bring his sister, was trying to keep an eye on her, got away for a little bit, and then bam, now her throat is swollen. To his credit, he carries her all the way to the car, tries to get her to a hospital. That scene is shocking, man. The first time you see it, it makes you do a double turn. Like, it just, what the hell? Just what the fuck? And you see it. Like, it doesn't shy away from what happened. Peter, the acting Alex Wolff posts that scene. It's great. He didn't have to hardly say anything. I believe he says, "Are you okay?" Which is like, I guess, just, what you do when something bad happens. But nope, nothing's okay, my man. But for him to be silent, basically, and kind of get his, I don't know what the fuck to do now, emotion across with just his facials, I think is really good. And then to kind of top it off here, Toni Collette, the acting that she puts on here when she's breaking down, the screaming when she finds Charlie's body, it's great. I love it. The head, you mentioned the animatronics and the effects. My God, if I would have been convinced it was a deep fake. I really would have been. Like if someone said, "Yep, that's a deep fake," like, okay, yeah, kind of like we thought that they used a Donald Pleasance deep fake in Halloween Kills. Like I would have been easily convinced, but no, they did such a good job paying attention to detail to making it look like her face, and I think that they did a great job. Is it a little grotesque? Do I need to see it? No, but I mean, golly, we let so much go on the with the movies we watch. Like we've seen all kinds of shit. We saw a turkey fuck somebody a couple months ago. So again, you know, it is what it is. At least this one had some meaning. You got stuffed, bitch. Sorry, I had to bring a little levity because, my God, that was dark. This is just a dark film from here on out. It's tough.
All right, we're back home after Steve lets the last guest out from like the funeral home. Peter lies in bed and we see the red light come on in Charlie's treehouse. Steve looks through Charlie's drawing book. Annie is sleeping in the treehouse, back in class with Peter, and he's completely zoned out. He looks up and sees the rearview mirror again. Peter is under the bleachers with some friends and has a bad reaction to the weed as his friends talk about like these girls and Facebook statuses. He says his throat is getting bigger and asks for someone to hold his hand. Peter makes it home and we see Annie is sitting in her car. She cranks the car up after Peter walks inside. She drives away to go back to another grief meeting. Once she gets there, she decides against going in and tries to leave, but is stopped by a woman named Joan. She tells her she recognized her from a few months ago. She asks if she's getting better, and she tells Joan her daughter was killed a week ago. Joan consoles her and asks if she just wants to get coffee. She tells Annie now her son died and asks how old was she when she died. My son and grandson drowned 4 months ago. The youngest was 7 years old. Joan now writes her number down if she needs someone to talk to. Annie walks in and Steve asks where she was. She says the movies, and he says he'll come to bed with her. As her laying down, like he puts his hand on her shoulder, but she gets up. I'll be right back, she says, but he knows she's lying. She grabbed the blanket and is going to sleep in the treehouse. Peter stares at the red light and hears a tongue click in his room. He thinks he sees someone sitting in a chair, but it's just clothes. We now see an invitation to a seance put in their mail slot. Annie is back to work in the workshop and she accidentally spills paint and it gets all over the note with Joan's number. We now see Annie walking into an apartment complex. She knocks on a door. It's Joan's place. Annie goes inside and compliments the welcome mat, saying her mother used to embroider something just like that. She and Joan sit down and talk now. She describes finding her headless mother's corpse. She takes some pills to try and calm down. She finds like a paint chip or something in her mouth. Joan asks about her and her son's relationship. She tells her about how she sleepwalked into Peter and Charlie's room and covered them all in paint thinner. She had a box of matches and woke up her and Peter lighting the match. They wouldn't believe her that she was just sleepwalking. She and Peter kept quarreling after that. Peter is dropped off at home and Steve asks if he signed up for that SAT prep course. Steve goes into Annie's workshop and sees she's recreating the pole in the car on the road how Charlie was killed. He asks if she's coming to dinner. She says she's making it, but he snaps and walks out. Come, stay. I don't give a shit. My man Steve's starting to lose it now himself. Go ahead,
I
Brian.
have it up the hill with your shit. Oh, sorry.
So, truthfully, this is the set of scenes where the movie starts to lose me. I understand portraying the grief, and yes, it's very realistic. I mean, especially in a movie where family grief is, according to Aster, like what the main theme is. But for a cinematic movie, to me, it's boring. Like, it's definitely realistic again, but I feel like, people understand grief. Like, I didn't need it hammered home so much. I feel like it drags a lot here. We're an hour in here at this point, and just in my opinion, I would have liked to have seen this plot progress more here and like less in that third act, which I felt like was rushed, and I don't think it really needed to be. Like, I get the meaning get the meeting at Jonesy's and like the connection, or Jonies. I called her Jonesy's at Jonies, and the like the connections like to her mom, and you get that holy shit revelation with the sleepwalking thing, and this is where my feelings instantly shift when it comes to Annie, because it's like that meme with James Franco when he's like, what? It's like you're sitting there blaming Peter for not being able to forgive you for almost burning him and his sister alive. But yeah, I mean, there's some great content there. Showing how disconnected Annie is with this whole fucking model build. Seriously, Steve acted much better than I would have. Like, I would have lost my fucking shit on her much worse than he did. Like, that was my daughter too. Like, I would have fucking lost my shit. But that's all I had on the set of scenes. So now I think it's a good time for me to kind of talk about the soundtrack. Like, it's used very sparingly. Mike touched on that earlier. So like when it is used, it's very effective. Like, but it also kind of gives away when something is about to happen because of it. Like, apparently the primary direction, like, Aster gave composer Colin Stetson, who, by the way, he did Color Out of Space. And this, and really that's about it as far as the stuff that I've seen. But he is composing the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot, sequel to the original, not reboot, sequel, reboot, coming, whatever. Whatever's coming up. But anyway, rolling my eyes if you can't see that. But Aster's direction to him, like, was just make it feel evil. That kind of reminds me of clients telling me when they want a logo or a graphic or something done. I don't know, make it good. And then they have like 100 fucking things to say afterwards to critique it. But anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. Anyway, I had to get a couple tongue clicks in this episode. You know how it is. All right. Yeah, this is the chunk of the movie, to me, the only one that kind of drags. And you know how I am about length. This kind of, you feel it here a little bit, especially after just like the great come up that we just had with everything with Charlie's death and then the funeral and all of that. You kind of come back down, and I'm okay with a little bit of a dip after that. We kind of need it after seeing a child's head on the side of the road getting eaten by ants, but it lasts too long. I will give Alex Wolff a lot of credit for his kind of dazing through life here. Glossy-eyed, sleepy, him kind of not being able to do anything but look forward, and you see the red light from that treehouse, and again, obviously we know something ominous is happening, but up till that point, even Charlie seeing her grandma, nothing like demonic or extraterrestrial or anything weird like that had been hit so hard. As soon as you see the red light, you're like, okay, something extra is happening here. And I'm not a fan of that direction, obviously, because those aren't my favorite kind of movies, but I'm still in. Like, I'm still want to see what ends up happening. I'll be honest, man. If my mom tried to set me on fire on purpose, I wouldn't even be living there. I would have been found somewhere else to go, son. Right. Bye. Okay. So, especially when you already learn, and I'm sure Peter knows his grandma was a little crazy, for lack of a better term. Don't normally like to use it, but let's be honest, has mental illness. Okay. The brother, schizophrenia, talked about that in the grief council. Who knows what the mom has that she's been trying to hide for all these years because she didn't want to be like her mom. So, okay, got that. I'm moving out. Try to set me on fire, man. That's a wrap on things. We're not done. We're done here. No, I mean,
And then she gets mad at him for not forgiving her for it. Like, yeah. What?
Yeah. Well, again, mental illness will do that to someone. I hate to take that. And that's not even talking about it lightly. I mean, in all seriousness, there's clearly something wrong with her. She's blaming Peter for her wanting to set Peter on fire. And, we learn more about their relationship later through a dream. But anyway, I thought it was interesting. I just think this chunk kind of drags. I'll give props to my man, Steve, whose name I forgot earlier, for just finally saying something to this family. Like, man, this is some bullshit. I made dinner. Shit's getting cold. And you know how that's a bad feeling when you make dinner and it gets cold and it sits out and then somebody tries to come home and, oh, this is great, man. Should have been here when I cooked it. Anyway, finally, Steve stood up and said something to her. So, yeah, again, a little bit of I don't disagree with you, Brian. I just, for me, the movie picks back up again after this a little bit. So, I'm still intrigued.
All right, y'all. Here's one of the best scenes of the movie.
Hey, Nico, before you go, it's one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever.
Yeah,
Just
it's very good.
as far as the acting goes. Maybe not everything else, but the acting is just top notch to me.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm just kidding.
God.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's
Old Cloverfield over here.
Oh, that movie's so much better than this. Oh, anyway, go ahead. Go ahead. We're not
All
getting
right, Mike. Y'all ready to jump into our least favorite kill in the right? I don't. All right, just kidding. All right, dinner scene. Annie is annoyed, it seems, when Peter compliments Steve's cooking. Peter asks Annie if she's okay and asks if she wants to say something. Why would I say something so you can sneer at me, she asks. Release yourself, he says. Just fucking say it. She snaps on Peter. And that is right. Toni Collette puts on an acting clinic I can't do justice describing. She talks on how his sister is dead and she wishes she could take the pain away and we all grow closer as a family. And she says a lot more, but, just go watch the scene. It's great. She sits back down and Peter stares at her stoically and now asks, well, what about you? Charlie didn't want to go to the party. Why was she there? Steve stops the conversation as Annie becomes infuriated. She walks away from the table. And now Steve consoles his son. Annie leaves from her models and goes to the store. She sees Joan in the store parking lot and they converse. Joan tells her she's really good. Something happened, Annie. I feel turned around. You're going to think I'm crazy. She pulls her over to her car and tells her about a spiritual medium who performed an open seance. She describes what happened that night. She says she approached the medium about her son and grandson. They performed a seance and conjured my grandson. Annie doesn't believe it. This is real, Annie. She invites her over to experience herself. They get to Jones and light a candle. She calls for Lewis. It's Grandma, she says. She asks Lewis to slide the glass she and Annie are touching. Annie is freaked out when it happens, and she looks under the table in disbelief. Joan asks yes or no questions now. Annie continues to freak out, and Joan breaks out the chalkboard, and the spirit writes, I love you, Grandma. Annie asks to please stop. Annie is panicking, and Joan grabs a paper to give to Annie if she wants to do this herself to connect to Charlie. Read every syllable. The whole family must be there. She isn't gone, Joan says. Annie drives home in tears, and she hears a tongue click in the back seat. She's in bed with Steve, and she sees ants crawling on her pillow. She sees more crawling on the comforter, and sees more crawling in the house. She follows the ant trail into Peter's room. We see Peter's face and bed covered in ants. She screams silently, and Peter asks what she's doing. He tells her she's sleepwalking. She apologizes and asks if Charlie's here. He asks, why are you scared of me? I never wanted to be your mother, she says, but she quickly covers her mouth. I didn't feel like a mother, she says. She tried to stop it. She tried to have a miscarriage, but it didn't work. I'm happy it didn't work, she says. Why did you try to kill me? He asks as they both cry and are lit up in flames from being covered in paint thinner. And then Annie wakes up in shock. All right, go ahead, Brian.
No, look, you're 100% right. That dinner scene is definitely powerful. It's look, the performances from Collette and really all of them, Wolf and even Gabrielle Byrne, like it's just so good. Now I do think that this could have been in the last set of scenes. And again, Aster said that he's making a movie about grief, and up to this point, I think it definitely is. It's the route that it starts to take here. It's almost like a totally different movie from here on out to me. And as soon as they started with the seance shit, I'm completely shifted. Like I've forgotten all about the grief, all the feelings that I've felt up to this point. And look, I mean, I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I do this shit sometimes, but I'll look to the left or the right. As soon as they started with the seance shit, I looked to the left or the right, like I was looking at a camera, and I was just like, really? You dumbass fucks are going to mess with demons now. Okay, well, you deserve it all. Whatever comes next, you deserve it. Now, this is a fun fact I'm sure most of you have, but to make the chalkboard right on itself, the special effects team put a magnet in the chalk and put a magnet on the other side of the chalkboard to kind of make the chalk move. It was apparently very difficult, as you could. I can't imagine to get a small magnet inside of the chalk and make it write smoothly. Again, big props to Steve Newburn and his team. I think they're the highlight of. I have not seen practical effects like this in a long time in a movie. And a great acting and exchange between Collette and Wolf yet again in that nightmare. I think they did a tremendous job with playing with you not knowing whether like it's reality or not. Like, and there's so much I want to say about this, but I mean, I'll wait until the next set of scenes, or maybe the ones after. But I'll get to it eventually. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I will say this is my favorite set of scenes in the entire film because I think it has the two best acted scenes in the entire film, and they're between the same two actors. So kudos to them. Even this stuff with Joan, which I meant to touch on in the last set of scenes because you get more Joan, and I mentioned off the top of the show that I thought that she did a great job of making me think she was this normal, helpful woman. Honestly. So again, major heel turn for her soon come, man. She went full Hulk Hogan 96 on my ass. That shocked the shit out of me, not gonna lie, the first time I ever saw it. And normally I could kind of piece those things together like something's off about this one. But no, man, that great sell job on me. But anyway, let's talk about that dinner scene, man. That is something that's an acting clinic. And I will say, my man Steve even does his part, so I don't want to leave him out. His stoic, the way he kind of plays it straight, cool hand Luke for a little bit there to try to keep the peace is also an important part of that scene because that wasn't going to work, and then here comes Annie, who really just lets Peter have it. But I'm going to give Peter credit. He's like, hey, had you not sent Charlie to that party, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And so that's how grief works on both sides. And I don't think Peter, in his age, and understandably so, because at 17, you don't know how to, you barely even know how to put your pants on the right way at 17, much less deal with the death of your sister that you kind of accidentally caused. Like, that's tough to deal with. And I don't think he wants to face that right now. And Annie's kind of making him face it because she's having to deal with it and everyone's having to deal with it. It's a tough scene. I can't do it justice by speaking it into word. You need to go watch the scene. It's worthy of an Oscar in and of itself as a short film to me. It's so good. We did all, I mentioned all the seance stuff. This is where it gets a little for me. I will slightly disagree with you, Brian, but just a little bit. Well, I do think her wanting to do a seance is still part of the grieving process. Now, it's silly because I don't believe in seances or anything like that, or spreading dust around the room to get spirits to leave. Like, I just don't believe in that stuff. And if you do, that's great. But I still think that's part of her grieving process. Like, anything she can do to talk to Charlie is what she's going to do. And so while she second guesses herself, she eventually gives in. Now, by the way, as much as I was all in on Joan, when she said the line about the rug at the door, that was when I was like, son of a bitch, they got me. They got me. Because, that's funny. My mom made rug just like that. Oh, really? Interesting. That's too bad. But that got me. I was like, man, you bastard. You're going to turn this lady into an evil person. She kind of was. But I will say, there's some genuinely scary moments in this set of scenes. One is the chalk writing itself, the way it's shot. I think the way the sound is with the chalk, I love it. It's a little bit creepy. Also, on Annie's way home, that tongue click is... Ooh. And I know I'm not the only one. They talked about it on Dead Meat's podcast too. I saw that in a theater in Orlando with my cousin Vinny and his girlfriend Taylor, and we went and all saw that movie together. And the tongue click, that particular one got everybody in the theater. Everyone went like that was a good one. So a well-timed, probably accidental jump scare. Really, really good. Lastly, this nightmare is really, really good. I think the acting is great by Alex Wolff and Toni Collette again. Bravo, job well done. We learn a little bit more about why there's tension between her and him. I think she feels bad about how she feels about Peter as well. And while that's not necessarily grieving, I think that weighs on her quite a bit. It's not something that she likes about herself, but it's how she feels about the situation with her and her son. So I think they kind of touch on that, and there's almost like a little bit of a accidental touching moment until they both go up in flames and she wakes up. So I think this is a really strong set of scenes. So I had to ramble about it a little bit because I think it's so well acted all the way around. Really, really good stuff.
Our Annie goes into Peter's room and wakes him up apologizing for everything and to come downstairs we're going to try something. She wakes Steve up now as well. She tells him we're going to try this thing Joan showed me. She begs Steve. Annie pulls the table closer to them and she grabs their hands. Think about Charlie, she says. She says she's a medium. Peter says he'll stay and she begs Steve some more. I need you to be open. She calls for Charlie. Peter turns to look around. They all touch the glass and ask for her to move the glass if she's here. Peter asks Steve if he feels the air flexing. The glass moves. Annie asks Charlie to show them what she did earlier. Peter cries and Steve tries to stop it. We see glass break and fire shoot up from a candle. Steve now looks under the table as well. Annie starts talking in a little kid voice, calling out for Mom. Steve throws water on Annie as Peter cries and hugs Steve. Back to class, and Peter sees the light Charlie saw moving around the classroom. He sees his reflection in the glass, smiling back at him while he isn't smiling. He hears a tongue click and shoots up and goes to the bathroom. Annie answers a call from Steve. Steve says Peter caught him crying, seemingly being chased by an evil spirit, and Steve hangs up on her. She calls him back pissed and hangs up on him now. She goes to working on the models and lets the call go to voicemail. Patrick from Archer Gallery says they're thinking about her and checking on her. He says they can postpone the show if she needs it. She accidentally breaks a model chair and begins to destroy the model. Peter and Steve walk in and complain of the smell. He walks into the workshop and sees Annie has destroyed all the models she made. What the fuck happened here? I didn't feel like looking at it anymore, she says. Steve takes some pills as he prepares to sleep on the couch. Annie gets up as she hears scribbling sounds. She goes into Charlie's room and sees the pages to her book flipping over as something keeps drawing in it. Peter wakes up when he hears another tongue click. He sees Charlie in the corner of his room and he sits up. Charlie's head rolls onto the floor and it turns into a ball. Peter sees the dog at his doorway growling. Peter is grabbed from behind as he struggles to fight off being held down. He wakes up as Annie asks if he's okay. He says she was grabbing his head. She says she will fix this and don't tell Dad. We see the pages of Charlie's book flipping, and we see like pictures of Steve and Peter have been drawn and killed seemingly. Annie throws the book into the fire, and her shirt sleeve catches fire as the book catches fire. She drags the book out and stomps out the fire simultaneously. The fire on her sleeve goes out as well. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so the model at the start of this scene, when she's bringing everyone downstairs. By the way, part of me thought that these models would kind of play a bigger part here, but that they did. But and this may be stupid, but like this just what ran through my mind whenever I saw this. But when it's showing those houses, the model that had the houses on top of houses. I don't know if it was meant to be. I didn't read this, and it's just something that popped in my head. But to me, that kind of symbolizes like secrets on top of secrets on top of secrets. I don't know. Maybe that's stupid, but that's just kind of what ran through my head. Very intense scene. Absolutely, I will give it credit with the seance here, and Annie being possessed. But as a viewer, I'm starting to get frustrated here. And again, this is just my opinion. But don't get me wrong, the demon stuff and the inevitable destiny stuff. I mean, it plays good if this is what, if this is what you presented to me at the start of the movie. I mean, like you did the fate stuff, yeah, but the demon stuff, it just almost seems rushed now, and like it's to me it seems out of place. I should be sitting here like focusing on the dark atmosphere and what's going on in the story, but instead like I legitimately was thinking, where the fuck did this come from? Like, why is this even in this movie here? And again, just my opinion, but to me, I think it would have played like the whole thing would have played better to just stick with the mental illness aspect, show her like slow slip into insanity, caused by the grief. I mean, oh hell, I would understand that, but I just don't see any reason for the demon parts, and it just doesn't seem like the same movie to me. Annie almost here also like she doesn't even seem like she's emotionally spent anymore. Like she actually seems decently logical here in figuring out, okay, I fucked up. I think like something with this spiritual thing, and is trying to kind of resolve it. Which leads me to, I mean, and truthfully, this scene here, at the end of this group where Annie like stomps out the fire on the book, I think it happened way too quick with her realizing that doing that put out the fire on her arm. Like there's literally nothing about what was going on there that would trigger that in anyone to me. Like she would immediately start dragging her arm on the ground or something. Like it just came across as like, oh, I was like, oh, come on. Like whenever she immediately realized right there that one had to do with the other. Does that make sense? That's all I had.
Yeah, to me, everything outside of the seance that we're about to get into is kind of forgettable about this set of scenes. Partially because I just think it takes the movie in a direction that I wasn't quite here for. And I guess that was intentional, supposedly. But as far as this seance scene goes, again, really well done. The silence in the back when the cup moves or the jar or whatever the glass moves, I think is really, really good. I love the sound there. And I think the character dynamics around the table really are what a family is like. It's just put in this crazy scenario of a seance. You've got the dad that's like, I don't want anything to do with this shit. Can we please get back to normal? And then you got the son that just doesn't care. He's like, okay, I'll go. Okay, I'll try it. I'll go for it. Whatever. You got the mom who's gung-ho on it. And, Charlie's words coming out of her mouth, like all that stuff is really, really good. It's creepy. I like some of that, but a lot of it is out of left field. It doesn't quite fit with what we've gotten so far. That I think it's grounded in some realism. And now it doesn't deter me so much that I want to turn it off. It's just one of those things where it's a little fantastical, and I wish it would have stayed a little more grounded. But I do think that seance scene is great. Like, I think that's a well shot scene. I think the effects, as far as like getting Charlie's voice to come out of her mouth, like I think all of that is really good. All of that. And I think the three interacting with each other, really, really, really good. I just think everything after that is kind of forgettable. It's not, I didn't take a lot of notes on it because it's not, to me, outside of her, in the book and her kind of basically figuring out, oh shit, shouldn't have done that. Something bad's going to happen now. I think it's just kind of forgettable. So that's all I had on that set of scenes.
Well, thank you at least for saying that. Like at least that justifies. I mean, at least you agree with me that it's out of left field. Now you may be okay with that. Whereas it affected me like, oh, fuck this movie. But like that, I think at least you can kind of see where the dividing line is. It's just how you feel about that dividing line. At least you agree that it's there.
All right, the next day, Peter leaves for school and Annie goes to Jones, but she doesn't answer her knocks. We see the same triangle-shaped symbol etched onto our table with Peter's picture in the middle and other figurines set up. Annie notices the floor mat and is in shock as she runs away. Peter hears his name called over and over and over. He sees Joan across the street as she yells, I expel you. She begins to yell out the words etched onto their walls and for Peter to get out. Annie goes back to her mom's things and finds a book that has a symbol from her necklace. She sees about King Payman, and he's a male and covetous of a male body. She flips through a photo album now and finds pictures of her mom and Joan together. She sees other pictures of ritualistic type things. Peter walks the halls to his classroom, and that beam of light shoots into his classroom. Steve gets an email on Ellen's gravesite being dug up. Annie goes into the attic now, and flies are ever abundant. Annie sees a body in the corner of the attic. She walks closer to the body and realizes it's her mother, Ellen's body. The symbol painted onto the wall. Peter hears more tone clicks. His arm goes into the air, and his eyes turn bloodshot. His face slams into the desk repeatedly, and he snaps out of it and screams, terrifying the rest of the class. His face is covered in blood. Steve answers the phone and picks Peter up. He slams brakes as he almost runs through a red light, and he breaks down in tears now. He gets back, and Annie runs out to the car, and she freaks out when she sees Peter's face. They carry Peter inside and put him in bed. Annie tells Steve he needs to go into the attic to see what she's seen. She thinks it's her mother's body. Steve opens the attic chute, and the flies are still overwhelming. He climbs up there, and Annie runs downstairs, starting a fire. Steve screams, "What the fuck is that?" Annie tells Steve about Joan and shows him the photo album. Steve accuses her of digging up her body. She shows him the book full of drawings of Peter. He's in danger, and I started it. She tells him she tried to burn the book, but her arm caught on fire. She says they have to destroy it. They both go downstairs to the fire to burn the book. She begs Steve to burn it. She covers it in paint thinner, and she tells him he's the love of her life and kisses him. "I love you so much." Steve says, "I'm not going to do this with you anymore," and tells her she's sick. "I'm calling the police." Annie grabs the book and throws it into the fire. Steve becoming set ablaze instantly. Annie is overtaken by Payman as the light covers her. And the next scene, the next breakdown is the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, first off, great shot when Annie is going back to Joni's. Like, it starts out upside down in the hallway, and then you follow Annie to like a behind her shot as like she approaches Joni's door. A fucking phenomenal, like great shot, as well as that shot like through Joni's apartment and how it kind of pulled back. I thought that was great too. So now that I have accepted that, okay, this is a completely different movie to me now. I just got to forget about the first part. Like, I can refocus on it a little bit, but again, like all this stuff with the demon, which, I mean, I'm not an idiot. I'm not saying that name. You know how I am about demon stuff. I felt like all of this demon stuff was just kind of crammed in here and honestly just unraveled way too quickly. The stuff to me like should have been spread out all throughout like the whole movie, in my opinion, but way more than it was. But regardless, obviously this set of scenes did make me uneasy personally, just because of like how I tread so lightly around that demonic shit. I'm not trying to inadvertently invite any sort of bad energy like that into my life. And then we have Nico over here just saying the name all willy nilly. Nah, bro. I should have muted right there. But God, look, when it first showed me the body in the attic, I thought that was Charlie, you know, being that I was headless. And woo, that as soon as I saw that, it made me want to throw up. I was like, oh God, no way. But for some reason, I don't know, it just didn't bother me as much when I found out it was the grandma. I don't know. But Peter's classroom scene, just amazing acting there by Alex Wolff and Gabrielle Byrne, like having a breakdown on the way home in the car. Toni Collette's performance here when she thinks that fire is going to burn her and tries to get him to do it is phenomenal acting right there for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, to me, this set of scenes kind of redeems the movie a little bit here. I think the stuff with Peter at school is really, really good. It made me uneasy the first time I saw it. Everyone that's listening to this at some point has sat in a classroom and probably been a little embarrassed about something. In a way, we can relate to Peter slightly. Now, our eyes aren't bugging out of our head and our head being slammed against the desk and freaking out and all this other stuff. But I think we can all relate to the public embarrassment that he feels about this whole thing. Because he's someone that just wants to move on. And this thing keeps tormenting him, this grief, this anguish, all of the pain. And now this demon thing, you know, that they let in by having this seance is after him. And he's starting to kind of realize that. And so Steve going to get him from school being pissed at Annie, I completely understand. But, you know, and to me, this is where I wish Joan would have been on. Now, they sold me on her heel turn. I just wish she would have come off a little more evil, less friendly cult lady and more evil devil worship person or something. I don't know. But anyway, but so the first time I see the body, I'm with you, Brian. I literally said out loud, I said, oh shit, that's Charlie's body in the theater, because I may shout something out in the theater.
Oh, but then you realize you're that guy. You're that guy.
No, I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy that wants to tongue click the whole movie because I think it's funny. That shit's annoying. But I am the guy. Oh shit, thinking that's Charlie's body, but it was the grandma's body. To me, it didn't sway me either way. I'm like, oh, the fuck is going on? To me, from this point on, you get a whole lot of what the fuck is going on here. for me. That's and that's what I kind of talked about it in the beginning. The next 20 minutes is kind of like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, it's a little out there. And I know it's supposed to be. You have to forgive me if I cough because there's that illness going around you may have heard of. Yeah, man. It's just like, you get this body and I got to pull one out for my man Steve, man. He was a real one. He was down to earth. He had the right head on his shoulders, and he just married into crazy, man. My man married into crazy. It's unfortunate what happens to us men on these streets. I'm just kidding. Women have it a whole lot worse because men are in pieces of shit. Anyway, but no, for real. I think this does a good job up until the point where it starts to become a demon movie. Like, it starts to kind of toe that line of golly, possession, being possessed. That's just not a kind of movie that I'm a huge fan of outside of the Conjuring series, of course, because I think it's well done. But up to this point, we've got a movie grounded in enough reality, and then we just shift gears the last 20 minutes. And to me, it takes a flat turn into the side of a mountain, man. It gets a little bit of, I can't describe it any better than I already did with what the fuck is happening? Like, the set of scenes that Nico's about to read off, what the fuck happens? Still, I've seen the movie 10 to 12 times. What happens in this last set of, like, yes, technically I get it. I know the story, payment and all that. I got it, okay? But, I could have done without it. That's all I'm saying.
I could have done without you saying that name again, but here we go. Here we are. This is.
I was just going to say, Mike. I was going to say I respectfully disagree with you about Joan. I like the fact that she's, like lending her shoulder to Annie, because I feel like that's Ari Aster saying you need to be careful who you console with whenever
that's fair
with your grief. You don't just put all your problems on a stranger. I
love the character of Joan, by the way. That's a great job on the character.
Definitely. All right, here's the ending where not much happens. I'm just kidding. Peter awakes and we see the light in Charlie's treehouse. We see Annie in the corner of the ceiling as Peter gets out of bed. We now see her crawl out of the room, I think through midair, perhaps. Maybe it's on the wall. I'm not sure. He leaves his room and calls for his parents. Peter hears a loud bang and goes downstairs. Peter sees the ravage downstairs and finds his father's charred corpse. We see Annie again in the corner of the ceiling watching him. Peter turns and sees a naked man in the doorway smiling. We hear a thud, and he's chased by Annie up the stairs. Peter runs into the attic, pulling the ladder up. We see Annie banging her head against the ceiling rapidly as he begs Mommy to stop. Peter stands up and sees candles lit all over. He sees a circle of candles where a body was and a picture of him with his eyes missing. He says, "I just gotta wake up," and smacks himself. He hears flesh tearing and looks up and sees Annie sawing her head off with piano wire as she stares at him with crazy eyes. Peter jumps out a window to the ground when he sees 3 more naked people in the corner. We hear a thud when Annie's head is finally severed off. Peter lands onto the ground below and we see the light go into him. Peter arises and clicks his tongue. Peter walks toward the treehouse and sees more naked people. He climbs the ladder into the treehouse and sees people on hands and knees bowing. He turns and sees the payment figure with Charlie's severed head fixed atop of it and his headless mother bowing before it. He sees a picture of Queen Lee and a woman puts a crown on his head. Joan appears calling him Charlie and says he's all right now. You are Payman, one of the 8 kings of hell. We've corrected your female body. We reject the Trinity and pray to you. Bring us honor, wealth, and good familiars. We bound ourselves to you forever. Hail Payman, they begin to chant as the film ends with a happy-sounding song and title card. And I'm sure Brian wanted to hear the name Payman one more time.
This is the way I'm treated on the show. I just want everybody to know that. I'm treated like this all the time. Anyway, look, this ending, I hated it. I hated it. I had some tense moments, like, don't get me wrong, great visuals with her banging her head on the door the way she did. The soundtrack was good, and it ramped up the tension, because like I mentioned earlier, like, you hadn't heard the soundtrack much at all throughout the movie. There's a lot of similarities with the Witch's ending, but I kind of felt like the Witch movie earned that. Like this, I feel like it didn't earn it. Like it was just, again, to me, like, where the fuck did all this come from? And then we get this floating fucking headless body, the dead dog out of nowhere. It's like, oh, okay, you don't like it, you don't understand it. Well, I mean, no, I fucking understand it completely. I understand that if this had just been a movie about mental illness and, you left this demon stuff out completely and you just had her like slowly slip into madness, and then you would have completely earned that. And like, it would have been a completely justified ending. Maybe, go into her schizophrenia, but, instead you just get this dumb ending to me that just, it's coupled with the soundtrack at the end that gave me PTSD for how much I hated Midsummer. I don't know. It made me hate the whole thing. Like, I would have been so bothered and affected just like internally a lot more from this movie if it had just kind of stopped at the 1 hour mark. I mean, look, but of course, I'm the only one that hates this movie. So go ahead, Mike, say some great stuff about the ending.
Now, hold on. I said at the beginning of the movie, the last 15 to 20 minutes are not my cup of tea. So, obviously, that's going to reflect in my overall score here. But all right, fair enough. Yeah, I don't like the ending either, man. It goes way into this cult, this pagan cult territory stuff that I just don't like. We got a movie that dealt with serious issues in a really good way. And then I think that takes that move. I think it takes the first 75% of the film, crumbles it up, throws it in the garbage to me to take it into this direction. And look, if you like this, that's great. I don't think this was a very satisfying ending. It's creepy. It makes me feel bleh when I watch it because there's, again, a naked, headless, floating body. Everybody's naked, lying on the ground. There's howling. There's, Charlie's voice coming out of Peter's body, which is eerie to me. There's a lot of like creepy stuff, but I don't think this film took me there. Now, had this been the whole movie, if we had gotten earlier clues about this was what it was going to end up being, like some sacrifice and all this other stuff that we get, then okay, at least I'm in that already. This is not out of left field per se, but it's coming from a place that I didn't see. And I guess if that was the intention, well, then bravo. But it just doesn't do it for me. It's so fanatical and so over the top that I just think it really does kind of poop on the groundedness that we got before it. Now, that being said, some positives, so I can end it on a positive note. The acting is great. The way it's shot is great. The same old stuff that's been great the whole movie are still great. And I guess we kind of disagree, Brian. Not really. But on the way the sound is used, I think it makes it creepy and uneasy. And I like that it brings. I think the reason it didn't use it so much throughout the film is so that it could use it a lot in the end. And I think that is something that ends up happening. And for me, that hit more than anything else in this whole ending does was the soundtrack. But outside of that, I'm just not a fan of the way they wrap this story up. And that's a shame because I do think you have a really strong film here. And it's still a strong film. I'd like the film, but I just wish the ending was something different.
All right, before we jump into our social media comments and questions, I agree 100% with y'all. I don't like the ending, but I like it all the way up until Peter falls onto the ground. I wish they jump into the Annie reading on King Payment and all that earlier. They set that up more. Then they just end the film when Peter stands up, tongue click, movie over. I would like that a lot better. I hate everything in the treehouse. It doesn't do it for me. But that's just me. All right, let's knock out Twitter real quick. Kevin Scanlon, he commented, Toni Collette's performance in this movie is incredible. She made Hereditary a great movie for me. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. We can't we can't give her enough praise for her performance in this movie. Even if you didn't like the movie, you can't say she was a bad actress. Shan, she commented, "This movie took me a while to determine how I felt about it. I haven't had a movie affect me on first watch like this since I was 16, watching the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is a movie where Toni Collette's phenomenal acting job makes you feel the grief she is going through. I feel like you have two movies here. The first 80% of the movie is all about grief and how everyone deals with it. The last part of the movie was something different. I honestly think the first part of the movie was more impressive and hits a lot harder than the end." I guess Brian and Shan shared notes this week. I'm just kidding.
Girl.
I mean, we agree. I mean, I think we agree with them, Nico. I don't necessarily think we're in disagreement.
No, I'm with them. Samantha Davidson on Facebook commented, "I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this. I really loved Hereditary from the first watch in theaters because I didn't know what to expect next. My question for you is, do you all like to watch trailers for horror movies, or do you like to go in mostly blind? I've stopped watching horror trailers years ago, and I think it really helps to not go into movies with expectations. I always watch a trailer, personally.
I always watch the first trailer, like something like Scream. I watched the first Scream 5 or whatever. I watched the first trailer, but I refuse to watch the rest of them. It just varies from movie to movie for me.
I say it depends on the movie. If it's not a franchise that I'm invested in, I like to watch a trailer so I get a grip of what I'm going in to see.
Yeah.
Or if it's a movie with a lot of hype, I may not watch a trailer just so I can kind of go in and let it catch me. But if it's one of the franchises like Halloween and Scream or anything like that I really like, The Conjuring 3, when all those trailers dropped, I watch those as well. So it definitely varies from movie to movie for sure.
We have to watch it now for business purposes. We do reactions now.
Yeah. Haha. We're so big time on the YouTube.
Hey, you know the vibes. But I will say that when me and Karen are thinking about watching a movie, it's got high ratings, it sounds good. Then you watch a trailer and it looks like dog shit.
Yeah, I've done that.
Save 2 hours of my life. All right, here's a Kevin Potoff. Oh goody. Another order of shit soup. I hope everyone floats at the end of the movie. Eye roll. Your fans really won the turd lottery this week. Still love the show, guys. Doing a great job keeping me entertained. And then he comments later, the best character in the entire movie was the telephone pole.
I read that and died laughing, Kevin. I just want you to know that. I was like, oh my God, he's got to read this on air because too soon, Kevin. Too fucking soon.
Kevin, my man. Can you give me a list of 5 movies that you do like?
If you're Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
he likes Return of Kevin, we can't be friends, buddy. We can't be friends. That movie sucks, pal. God almighty.
Let's go to Instagram. All right. Alex1 commented, Hereditary was the refreshing gut punch I needed that restored my interest in modern horror films. I was in no rush to see this because I was guilty of judging a book by its cover. And let's be honest, the cover art for Hereditary freaking sucks. As such, I assumed this was another boring, run-of-the-mill, creepy kid flick that relied heavily on cheap jump scares. Well, it's not. What it is a crazy outside-the-box WTF fest that flared up my TMJ because my jaw fell to the goddamn floor a dozen times. Also, I was never much of a fan of the sport before, but now I really don't like basketball.
That was a good review. Holy smokes.
All right, Mark_Hef commented, wow, now this movie really sticks with you for a while. Really enjoyed it and found the disturbing scenes, disturbing, but done in a fantastic way. Great choice. I agree with that. Chris_2020, that scene in the car when it only shows Peter's face, but you know what happens to Charlie? Absolutely haunting the first time I saw it. Yeah. Yeah. Alex Wolff.
He's killed.
I feel like he doesn't get enough credit because Toni Collette was so good, but he killed this. He killed his role.
Great. He did.
He's good in this, and he's good in Old. He really was.
And Jumanji.
Yeah.
All right, Danny CNAP commented.
Arrivederci.
Really awesome movie, but not sure when I'll watch it again. Honestly, felt a little sick the first time I watched this, as I wasn't expecting the accident scene. I had such a feeling of dread when Peter just parked the car in front of the house and went to bed waiting for someone to find Charlie. That's the scene that I think stuck with me the most from this movie. Can't wait for the review. Yeah, that scene's fucked up. to put lightly. That's all our
Absolutely.
social media comments and questions. Thank you all so
Yeah,
much for
thank
doing
you,
that.
everyone. Yep.
As
Absolutely.
always.
Let's jump into fun facts. Brian, you want to go first since I just talked too much?
No, you're fine. I only got two. This was actually the feature film debut of Millie Shapiro, and I think she did a great job.
Absolutely.
The miniature houses actually become almost a character in this film. When Steve initially met with Ari Aster, he discovered that the debut director at this point had already created a laundry list of the miniature scenes that he needed for this movie. Those are the only two I had.
All right, Money Mike, before you go, I'm going to read off mine real quick. And give me a minute because I got quite a few because I just thought a lot of them were fascinating. Ari asked a request that Alex Wolff and Millie Shapiro go out to eat in character a few times, and they would sit for up to 3 hours in silence while Millie wouldn't speak and Alex would try to get her to talk. That's commitment right there.
No doubt.
That's method acting if I've ever seen it.
I bet their waitress was pissed. They better let her a good tip.
Y'all gotta get up. We need this table.
Toni Collette has called Ari Aster the most prepared director she's ever worked with. She praised him for practically having the full movie already shot and edited in his head 2 years before they started filming. Ari Aster wanted any effect that could be done practically to be done that way instead of in post-production. And like Brian said throughout the review, the special effects and the effects are just amazing in this movie.
Absolutely great. They're great.
Ari Aster liked Utah for the film because he thought its mountains are beautiful and breathtaking, but also menacing and ominous. The outside shots in the movie outside of the house are really nice. Like Charlie's
they are.
Burial, those mountains are beautiful. According to Alex Wolff, the original cut of the film could have easily pushed over 3 hours. The cut footage mostly consists of more family dialogue. I would watch it once.
Okay.
I'll watch it once.
Yeah, I would too.
Ari
I
Aster
would
wrote
be happy about it.
Yeah, I don't know if you get more dinner scene table.
Well, that's
scene.
true. If I get a little bit more of that, I'm fine.
Yeah. Ari Aster wrote detailed biographies and backstories for all of the characters before even writing the screenplay. I really respect Ari Aster. I mean, he knows what he's doing. You might not like his style, but he's damn good at it. Production designer had to work simultaneously with miniaturist to ensure the Graham house and the miniature house were exactly the same. The house was constructed completely on sets on a soundstage in Utah. In order to follow Ari Aster's shot list, they needed to be able to remove walls and ceilings in order to shoot the rooms to look exactly like the miniatures. And this is the last one I got, Mike. Ari Aster has 10 screenplay written he hopes to direct over the course of his career.
So he's Tarantino in this thing. After this movie, I'm done. I've done my movies. I'll believe that when I see that, Quentin. But anyway, okay. So this movie had a budget of $10 million and grossed a worldwide total of $80.2 million. So I think that the success of this movie depended on word of mouth quite a bit because I think enough people went and saw it. And you're just kind of doing a little research of there was a groundswell of you have to see this movie. It's so creepy. It's weird. It's odd. There's this one scene. Oh my God, you got to see this scene. You have to go see the film. And so I think that kind of is the reason it made as much money as it did because it didn't kill it opening weekend, but it grew and it grew and it grew because of the scene that we all have agreed to say is fucked up. It's a very fucked up scene. And again, this is Ari Aster's debut film, and it's one of the I think it's number 2 as far as highest grossing debut films for a director.
Incredible. All right. Y'all ready to jump into the favorite kill in the rating?
Let's do it. I got Brother Dustin's whenever we're ready.
All right. I'll go first.
Go ahead. I was going to say I'll go first so I can get mine over with, but go ahead. I'm going to be low.
You know what? Go ahead, Brian. You go first. I'll let you go first.
That way, hey, if you don't want to hear my rating, you guys can just hit that fast forward for the next 20 seconds. But hey, I did my kills a little bit different this time. All right, I did my least favorite kill was Charlie because oh my God, like I didn't want to fucking see that. And I didn't do a favorite kill, but I did a best kill, and I put Charlie's on there for best kill as well. So I put them for both. So I don't know. I just went against the grain because you know what? I can fucking do that. Why not? As far as my rating goes, like I said nothing but good things about this. The first hour. I feel like this is just two different movies. The acting was great, shot great. just in my opinion, I think it was just kind of a shit show storytelling wise. Nico said it perfectly. You may not like Ari Aster's style, but he does it well. And you know what? I completely agree with that. Like, I just happen to fall on the side of not liking the style, but you know what? Hey, he does that well. I gave Midsummer a 4.5. I do think that this one is better. So I'm going to give it a 4.75.
All right, Mike, I'll go next.
Okay.
Favorite kill, if you want to call it that, like Brian said, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's the best kill to me. Charlie, the scene is masterfully shot and gut-wrenching, and I just wrote Ari Aster knows how to make a death scene memorable. Least favorite, I just chose Ellen, Grandma. It's off screen. Her body's just there. I don't know if that's copping out, but that's what I chose. And I just wrote a little summary. Not much more I can say after this review that hasn't been said. Ari Aster has made 2 incredible movies, in my opinion. Toni Collette put on an acting clinic, but we must give credit to the rest of the family, especially Alex Wolff as Peter. He was phenomenal as well. Beautifully shot, creepy as hell, and it sticks with you. I have to agree with lots of other reviewers, and I know Mike will probably disagree, but this movie does remind me somewhat of The Babadook. And it's impressive that Toni Collette and Essie Davis are both Australian actresses. They both do a great job. The only thing, like I said, that bothers me with this movie is the ending. I know it's not a good review talk, like I know Brian has said in the past, but the ending in the treehouse, it just don't do it for me. I don't really like it. But regardless of that, I think this movie is fantastic. 8.75, Mike.
All right, I'll read Brother Dustin's. Here we go. Ari Aster knows how to make a masterpiece. This movie is visually beautiful, and the acting is top-notch. It is a touch long, but that's to be expected. It pulls on every emotion possible, and the dialogue is very well written. If there's one thing I know about Ari Aster, is that he loves 2+ hour long movies that has multiple naked people in a shrine of some sort at the end. Oh, and someone wearing a crown. See Midsummer in this, which is very true. They're very identical in that way. Favorite kill, Charlie. I can't believe I picked the kid's death, especially one so brutally sad, but the kill itself was incredible. From the look of the severed head, the sound of the head hitting the pole and getting knocked off, awesome. Least favorite kill, Ellen, because it was off screen before the events of the movie unfolded. Great movie, but I can't say I'd be in a rush to watch again, similar to Midsummer. With that being said, I'll give it a similar rating, 9.25. Okay. I think I'm going to be right in the middle of Nico and Dustin here. Here we go. So, again, I picked the movie because of Toni Collette's acting. I think it's great, but so is the rest of the cast. It's so beautifully shot. It's a creepy, eerie film. A lot of it sticks with you. There's just scenes that come from this movie. The noise is very memorable. All of that stuff. I don't even know if my mic is picking up on the. Hopefully it is. But again, top to bottom acting, phenomenal. There's so much that I've already said. I don't want to repeat myself. But my favorite kill is Charlie. Because the way it's shot, the severed head looks so good. It's hard not to pick it just because it's done so well. I don't know, as far as a kill goes, in any other horror movie that just stuck with me for a while. Like, man, that tugged on the heartstrings. That is some serious shit. My least favorite kill is Steve. My man Steve should still be around. Even though I forgot your name, you should still be here. That's all I'm saying. Okay. They killed the most innocent one. It's bullshit. All right. All that being said, I gave this movie an 8.5. This movie, with a different ending that stuck to more reality, would probably get close to a 9.5 for me just because I love the rest. But 8.5 gets knocked down because that ending it didn't sit with me. It doesn't work. But I still feel 8.5 is a damn good score. I'm surprised Nico gave it higher than me.
Yeah, I really liked it, man. Our composite score between the four of us is a 7.8125.
Damn it, Brian. Bringing our average.
Bringing down the average.
But we're closer to IMDb this week, so they got it right. Hey. The IMDb rating is 7.3. It's like those guys know what they're talking about sometimes over there.
Hey, see, you needed me. You needed me.
God damn it.
He brought balance to the show, I guess.
Balance.
Any more final thoughts before we shout out our blood donors and I'll announce my pick for next week? Maybe Brian will like this one. I don't know.
No, I'm ready to get out of this headspace. I'm ready to get out of
All
this.
right, good, cool. Our blood donors, just want to say thank you all so much. Like we've said,
Yes,
for many, many weeks in a row, with y'all's support, help us make a very good podcast. Like, it's not free to make a good one.
right.
So thank you all so much for your support. Our camp level reoccurring: Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, and our camp counselor reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Karen, Shan Petrusevich, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, and Joe Swinford. Our legendary blood donors, we have film reviews to do for, which will be this week. We're doing Missy Hutchison Walls. And our final go donor is Danny Cnaps. Thank you all so much for your support. Really appreciate
thank you
it.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
And I'll go ahead and announce my pick for next week real quick. To continue our theme of strong female lead is what we're calling this month. It's kind of, this movie really only has two main actors and actresses, but
they're phenomenal ones.
yeah. And when we go into it next week, she's the only one who's ever won an Oscar for a Spielberg movie or something like that. I can't remember the exact thing. But I heard some. We'll touch on it next week. But anywho, it's 1990s Misery. I think Kathy Bates is incredibly underrated when we talk about great actresses. So I'm super excited to review Misery. I only really picked
James Caan, man. Come on.
Yeah,
amazing.
Great. I picked this movie, honestly, many months ago just because I wanted to do Misery in the wintertime because it's snowing the whole time. But it just, me and Mike kind of picked our picks early, and it just turned into female lead month. And I think it's been a great theme, honestly.
Absolutely.
So looking forward to Misery. Really enjoyed reviewing Hereditary. This is a big movie, and I think we did it justice.
Tried our best.
Thank you to all our fans and listeners. And don't forget, I'm doing that giveaway. Share our post on Instagram, retweet us, share us on Facebook. And if you do share us on Instagram to our story, tag us in it so I make sure I see it, okay? So I'll give away a free Blu-ray of Hereditary. Appreciate your support. Y'all have a good one. Might do a tongue click to end us.